Hello everyone, my name is Satish Kumar Aryan from Chemistry Department. Today we are going to talk about chemistry. Actually my topic is organic chemistry, but before actually jumping into organic chemistry, let us talk something about the basic chemistry itself. Now, we know the fact that everything starts with matter. What do you mean by matter? Matter is something which has definite mass and occupies space. For instance, we can call Earth as a matter itself, because Earth has occupied its own space in this whole universe and it has its own mass. Since we can call Earth as matter, anything which is present on Earth physically and biologically can also be called matter itself. Now in chemistry, what we are actually going to do, in chemistry we are trying to understand what is the properties of this matter. Now let us try to simplify it. So as I said, matter is anything that occupies space and has definite mass. Now in chemistry, the first thing what we are going to study is structure. Now, doesn't matter whether this matter is in solid state, in liquid state or in gaseous state. All this matter is made up of a tiny indivisible particle called atoms and molecules. Now, in chemistry, the first step is to understand what is the structure of these atoms and molecules. So we are going to understand the structure of these atoms and molecules. See, you have already learned the fact that the moment if you take a small piece of sodium chloride crystal, you would never believe that this sodium chloride crystal is actually made up of sodium and chlorine atoms, in which the sodium and chlorine atoms are actually placed in a definite order. But when you look at it with your naked eye, you probably would not think that, okay, this is the exact order, okay? Only after studying solid state chemistry, you can think that, oh, this is how the sodium and chlorine atoms are arranged, okay? So that's the first thing. Second point, what we are going to study is composition. Composition. So imagine you have so many matters around you, but some of the matters are pure substances, some of the matters are mixtures. Now imagine if you take a small piece of sodium, this sodium is made up of sodium atoms only. So this element sodium, I'll write here. I'll take a small piece of sodium here. This sodium is actually made up of tiny sodium atoms only, not anything other than that, only sodium atoms. If you take gold is made up of only gold atoms. If you take aluminum is made up of same aluminum atoms. So they are called pure substances. They are called elements. That means the substances which are made up of same type of atoms. Now imagine, let me give one example. Imagine that we have a hydrogen element made up of only hydrogen atom, and we have a oxygen element which is made up of oxygen atoms. Now if you combine this hydrogen and oxygen, obviously you are going to get water molecule. Okay? Now this water molecule, what you are seeing right now, is not element now, because element is made up of same type of atoms, but this water is actually made up of two different type of elements. Okay? So when elements combine together in a definite proportion, they form compounds. Now can we call these compounds a pure substance? Of course yes. Why? Because if you look at these two, as I said, sodium, hydrogen or oxygen, they are made up of same type of atoms, not anything other than hydrogen, not anything other than oxygen, not anything other than sodium itself. But in case of water, we can call this as pure substance. Why? Because it is made up of same H2O throughout. Imagine you have a small glass of water, that water contains only H2O, not anything other than that, in a fixed ratio. So even compounds, so these are elements and these are compounds. Okay? So both these elements and compounds are pure substances. Now if you mix compounds, if compounds interact together, if you combine compounds together, if you combine elements which are non-reactive together, then you'll get mixtures. You'll get mixtures. So what do you think are the mixtures? So any product you use from morning till evening, starting from your toothpaste, starting from your soap, your shaving cream, your beauty products, the shirt I'm wearing, the shoes I'm wearing, the food you eat, everything, literally everything we use, most of them are mixtures. They are not pure substances. Okay? So you can give any example for this, for instance. Now, what we're going to do understand next. So the first point is we'll try to understand the structure of the compound. Second, we'll try to understand the composition of the matter. And third, we're going to understand the property. Now, I'll write it here, the properties. Okay. Now, what do you mean by a property? A property is something which is exhibited by the elements and compound, the matter specific. Okay, the specific type of exhibition by the matter. Now, let us imagine you take a small piece of aluminum, you take a small piece of iron, and you take a small piece of lead of the same volume. Let us assume that we have taken a cube. This is made up of aluminum, and this is made up of iron, and this is made up of lead. Now if you try to lift them up, you will come to know that aluminum is quite lighter, but iron is definitely heavier than your aluminum. But when you try to lift lead, you will come to know that this lead is actually 3 or 4-fold heavier than iron itself. That means these matter are having different masses. Okay? Now let us take one more example. You take a small piece of sodium and you heat it. This sodium actually melts at 100 degrees Celsius. But if you take a small piece of iron, it actually melts at 1500 degrees Celsius. That means after the end of the inquiry, you will come to know that the molecular attractive forces are quite different between sodium and iron elements. Okay? Now, let us take one more example. You take water and you add small amount of alcohol to it. The alcohol gets dissolved, easily dissolved in water. But if you add small amount of kerosene or petrol, it actually floats on the surface of the water. Okay? Now that means you will understand that, okay, that means the petrol is actually less denser than water, it is floating on the surface. But if you add carbon tetrachloride to the same water, now this time carbon tetrachloride goes down, lifting up the water. That means this time carbon tetrachloride is having more density than water itself. So what do you understand by looking at all this thing? That means this matter, the different matter, doesn't matter there are elements, there are compounds or mixtures, they are having different physical properties. Okay, in this case I am trying to give only the example with respect to the elements, but you can extend the same thing up to the compounds also. Now that means the physical properties are changed. So we'll write physical properties. I gave example for only few. So similar to this mass, boiling point, melting point, refractive index, viscosity, surface tension, there are many physical properties are there. In chemistry we'll definitely try to understand the concept or the principle behind this difference in physical properties. Okay? Now what about chemical properties? Chemical properties. Okay? Now let us do one thing. You take a small amount of water, you try to ignite it using a lighter. You try to burn water. You take a matchstick, you light a matchstick, you try to burn water, but nothing is happening. Water is not catching fire at all. So, but if you do the same thing to petrol, you don't have to touch the petrol itself. The vapors itself catches the fire. Then it definitely astonishes you. Why the water is not catching fire? It is also liquid, but the petrol is catching fire. So we need to understand why. Okay? Now, let us take one more example. You take a small piece of sodium and throw it into water. Immediately it starts reacting with water. It moves around the surface, on the surface of the water. Sometimes it even catches the fire. But if you throw a small piece of iron to water, it simply sinks down, nothing happens. So what do you understand by this? That means even the matters are having different chemical property. The way they interact with other elements is different. Okay? If you throw a small piece of platinum or gold outside, even after a week nothing happens to it. But if you throw a small piece of iron, it will get rusted. Okay? That means the interaction of these substances is quite different with its environment. Now in chemistry we are going to discuss about that too. So finally, in conclusion, what we can understand is chemistry is the branch of science which deals with the study of the structure, composition and the properties of matter. Okay, that's fine. Now what we are going to do next, so with these examples what we came to know that, see, everything around us is matter. Matter is made up of either elements or compounds or mixtures. But these compounds and mixtures are impossible to form. Let us take an example. You take water and you add sugar to it. It becomes sugar solution. If you take water and if you add salt to it, it becomes a salt solution. It's a mixture, it's a type of mixture. Similar to that, even the alloys are also a type of mixture only. Now in order to get mixtures, in order to get compounds, you need elements. So these elements have to react to give compounds, or further you will get the mixtures. Did you get the point? Fine. Now elements are the basic. So what we can say, in chemistry we have already discussed more than 100 elements, out of which few are artificially prepared and most of them are naturally occurring elements. Okay. So I'll just write the outline of the periodic table. So in periodic table we have S block elements, we have P block elements, we have D block elements and we have F block. This is S block, this is P block, this is D and this is F. Okay. Now we are going to study the elements present in the periodic table. We are going to understand their physical and chemical properties and their arrangement, their structure and everything in coming classes. Now if you carefully observe, we have 3 branches in chemistry. Okay, we have 3 branches in chemistry. The first branch is called organic chemistry. Organic chemistry. And second one is inorganic. And third being physical chemistry. Fine. Now the question comes, why we are having 3 different branches in chemistry itself? Now the first one, organic chemistry, deals with the carbon and its compounds. Okay, deals with carbon and its compounds. Okay, we are going to study the physical properties and chemical properties of only the carbon and its compounds. Why carbon becomes so special, we'll study it in the later classes. At this moment, carbon and its compounds definitely mean that we have carbon. Carbon combines with hydrogen to form hydrocarbons, and also with oxygen, sulfur, phosphorus and halogens like chlorine, bromine, iodine. Okay. Now, why carbon becomes so special? Because carbon forms innumerable number of compounds, like a varied number of compounds just with the combination of these elements. Okay. Now we'll discuss why carbon becomes so special. Because in the periodic table we have more than 100 elements, but we have given this carbon a separate branch. Now in the upcoming classes we'll try to understand why this carbon became so special suddenly that we have dedicated a separate branch in chemistry. Now inorganic chemistry is the study of the rest of the elements apart from what we said here. Okay, we are going to study about this one, but not in combination with carbon. Okay, so inorganic chemistry, we are going to study about alkaline earth metals, P block elements, D and F block elements, okay, in inorganic chemistry. Now what about this physical chemistry? Physical chemistry mainly deals with the speed at which the reaction is taking place. A couple of minutes ago I said, like if you just let us imagine that you place 2 elements, one is sodium, other one is iron. But if you place sodium outside to the environment, if you expose it to the air, After some time, within 3 to 4 hours, you will clearly see that the surface of the sodium will get oxidized. It will be tarnished. Okay? But nothing happens to iron. But you may think that iron is nothing is happening to iron. Okay? But iron is also prone to surface oxidation, but it takes some time. So we can say that some of the reaction, the chemical reactions in nature are fast, they are spontaneous, and some are slow, they are non-spontaneous in nature. Now in physical chemistry, we will try to understand the speed at which the reaction is taking place and also the physical process that is taking place in chemistry itself. Okay? Now in our organic chemistry that deals with the study of carbon and its compounds. Inorganic chemistry deals with the study of the rest of the elements, the properties of the rest of the elements, their structures, arrangement and everything. But the physical chemistry deals with the rate of the reaction, how fast the reaction is taking place, whether the reaction can take place or not. We can predict the feasibility of the reaction considering the thermodynamics. We can predict the speed of the reaction considering the kinetics. We can actually try to understand the structure using the structural analysis of physical science. Okay, so these are the 3 branches of chemistry. Now, just now I told you that chemistry contains 3 branches: organic, inorganic and physical chemistry. Now my topic, I am going to deal with organic chemistry from now onwards. So, organic chemistry. Okay, now what do you mean by organic chemistry? It's a branch of chemistry, as I said earlier, it's a branch of chemistry that deals with the study of carbon and its compounds. Now, as I said, why there is a special branch? Because in periodic table there are many elements, there are more than 100 elements on the periodic table, but why there is a separate branch for the carbon element? What makes this carbon so special? We'll try to understand. Okay? First point, okay, now I'll write why carbon. Carbon. Okay, I'll write the first one is the catenation property. See, in chemistry, the chemistry is nothing but study of bonds itself. Okay, there is a definite bond in all these molecules. Now, imagine that this carbon can bond with another carbon. This is the covalent bond formed by the axial overlapping of the 2 atomic orbitals over here. But if you see, you have seen many elements, many compounds with covalent bond. Okay, organic chemistry mainly deals with covalent bond. We rarely deal with ionic bonds. Okay, now it's covalent bond. With the special property, the first special property of this carbon is it has a self-linking capability. Now, if anybody asks you what is the structure of the fatty acids, you say long chain fatty acids, okay? So you write like this. Obviously you write like this. Means obviously more than 16 carbon, 17 carbon, something like that. Now if you look at this structure, just observe all these points are carbons, as you already know. That means carbon can extend its bonds. Okay, carbon can link itself to form long chains. This property of carbon is called catenation. Okay, you have a long chain. This property is not seen in any other element. You cannot expect sulfur to bond like this. Impossible. You cannot expect the phosphorus to do the same thing. That's impossible. So it is only the carbon atom which is having the self-linking property, so it can make a long chains. Okay, first one. Second one is isomerism. Okay, isomerism is nothing but the same compound having different structures, having same molecular formula but a different structural formula. Now I'll write like this. Let us take an example. We have a pentane, N-pentane here. If you write isomers for this, you have isopentane, okay, and you have neopentane. Look, in all the 3 examples, in 3 molecules, they contain same number of carbon atoms. So this is a special property of carbon. It can show isomerism. The same molecule can be twisted and turned. The same molecule can be actually transforms into different forms. Okay, you have N-pentane, you have isopentane, and you have neopentane. This is another property. Next is hybridization. Hybridization. Carbon can have 3 hybridization state, sp3, sp2 and sp. In case of sp3, it forms, the valency of carbon is 4. What do you need to understand? The valency of carbon is 4. In case of sp3, it forms 4 sigma bond. In case of sp2, it forms 3 sigma 1 pi. In case of sp, it forms 2 sigma and 2 pi bonds. Let us take an example. If you write CH4, in methane molecule, all the 4 bonds are sigma itself. There are no double bonds here. Okay? Or else you can take the example of ethane. But if you write ethene molecule, in this case, it is sp2 hybridized. Carbon is now sp2 hybrid. Here it is sp3 hybridized. In case of ethene, you have sp2 hybridized carbon. And in case of ethine, you have sp hybridized carbon. Okay? This is ethane, ethene, and ethine compound. That means carbon can have different hybridization states. The next property is carbon can bond with most of the elements in periodic table. Okay? Carbon has its special ability. See, some of the elements in periodic table actually they can only specifically combine with few elements. But carbon can combine with metals, carbon can combine with non-metals. Let us take few examples to understand this. This is carbon. Carbon when combines, maybe this carbon, if you react this with chlorine, I'm just trying to write the equation just to make you understand. The reaction won't happen in this way. Okay, so carbon can combine with halogen to form, let us say CH3Cl, CH2Cl2, CHCl3 or CCl4. Okay, the carbon won't react directly with chlorine, that's impossible. We have to take methane and we have to do the radical reaction over there. Just to make you understand, I have written it in a simpler way. Now carbon can combine with sulfur. Okay, sulfur to form, see, look at this. Carbon can form, let us write, this is methane thiol. This is methane thiol. That means carbon can combine with sulfur, or you can write CH3SCH3. This is dimethyl sulfide. In this case, carbon is linked to sulfur. Let us move on. Carbon can combine with oxygen atom. Carbon can combine with oxygen atom. You can simply write CH3OH. This is a methyl alcohol compound. In this case, carbon is directly attached to oxygen. You can write CH3OCH3. This is an example for ether. In this case, 2 carbon atom is attached to two carbon atom is attached to 1 oxygen atom. Now you can also write any carbonyl compounds. Okay. Now carbon can also combine with metals. I can say metals. It can also combine with metals. I'll write few examples. See, metals. M represents metals. So I'll write example. CH3Li. CH3Li is nothing but methyl lithium. Methyl lithium. Okay. So this is methanol. If you want to write, this is dimethyl ether. This is carbonyl compounds. Carbon compounds. Now this is what methyl lithium. In this case, carbon is attached to a metal. I'll write one more example here. CH3MgX or MgBr. This is methyl magnesium bromide. This is methyl magnesium bromide. Even in this case, carbon is attached to a metal. Okay, so by now you might have understood that this carbon is quite versatile in nature. It can combine with halogens, it combine with sulfur, it can combine with oxygen atom, it can combine even with metals to form varied number of molecules. So these are the properties which makes carbon so special in nature. So beginning I told you why carbon, why we have chosen carbon out of 100 elements over there. So these are the points you need to remember which makes carbon a special element. We'll try to understand in detail what is actually in the syllabus. Okay? Okay now. Now we'll try to understand what actually a chemical reaction is. Because we constantly use this word throughout our lecturing, we always say reaction is taking place and all. Now we'll try to understand what actually the reaction is. Reaction, okay? Reaction, the word reaction can also be used in general terminology. So obviously it is really good to use the word chemical reaction in between. So you write chemical reaction. So what do you mean by chemical reaction? As I told you, if you take hydrogen and if you react this with chlorine, you are going to get two molecules of HCl, hydrochloric acid or hydrogen chloride, what do you say? Now what's actually happening? In order to understand this, let us try to break this down, simplify this down. I'll write H2, this is hydrogen molecule and this is chlorine molecule. Now I'll write the hydrogen molecule like this. This is hydrogen and this is chlorine molecule like this. Okay. Now the two hydrogen atoms are connected by a chemical bond and the two chlorine atoms are connected by a chemical bond. Now what do you mean by a chemical bond? Chemical bond is nothing but a force of attraction that holds two atoms together. The force of attraction which holds two constituent particles together is called a chemical bond. Now this is a covalent bond. Now what happens when you allow these two substances to react? What happens? See? This is what you can see in the intermediate stage. That means the bonds have been getting partialized. Okay? So what's happening? The older interactions are slowly disrupting and the new interactions are forming. The older interactions are dissociating and the new interactions are forming. Now what in this case what happens? There was actually hydrogen-hydrogen covalent bond. There was chlorine-chlorine covalent bond. These hydrogen-hydrogen covalent bond and chlorine-chlorine covalent bonds are slowly getting weaker and weaker. Now what at this step what happens? The hydrogen and chlorine bond becomes stronger. So how we can write? So at one moment what happens? All these bonds get partialized. So you will get hydrogen chloride, hydrogen chloride. Okay? This bond becomes stronger. These older interactions are now gone. The new interactions are set up. Now you got two molecules of hydrogen chloride. Now this is an example for chemical reaction, the simplest example I can possibly give. Now if you carefully observe what has actually happened here, in this case what has actually happened here means there is a reorganization of chemical bonds. So what is a chemical reaction? We can say reorganization of chemical bonds. I hope you understood what you mean by a bond. Bond is nothing but an attractive force, the attractive force, the force of attraction which holds two atoms together. Now what is a reaction? What happens during a reaction? The older bond, there is a breakage of some bonds and there is a formation of new bonds. That's why few people say that reaction is nothing but bond breaking and making process. Okay, so chemical reaction is nothing but a reorganization of chemical bonds. Now, we'll try to understand the bond cleavage. Now, as I said, a chemical bond is made up of two electrons. And before trying to understand what exactly the bond cleavage is, let us try to understand what is the bond itself. From the basic chemistry in the elementary level, you might have been heard about this. You have hydrogen atom with one electron. We have another hydrogen atom with its electron. Now what happens? These two atoms with having single electron, they share their electron to get the duplet configuration. Or some other elements actually share their electron to form the octet configuration. So what happens? This hydrogen assumes both the electron belongs to this hydrogen itself, it gets duplet configuration, and similarly this hydrogen also gets duplet configuration. So now, in this case, the two electrons actually belong to both the atoms. Now this is called a chemical bond. That means a chemical bond contains two electrons. It is made up of two electrons. That is what the first thing you need to know. Now, let us take one more example here. You take hydrogen with its electron, and we have chlorine. Chlorine has 7 electrons in its valence shell. Now, since chlorine is having 7 electrons, it requires one more electron to get the octet configuration, whereas the hydrogen requires just one more electron to get the duplet configuration. Now, these two will share the electron. Now, if you count the number of electrons on chlorine, 2, 4, 6, 8, chlorine gets the octet configuration and hydrogen gets the duplet configuration. Now, this is represented as a chemical bond. Now, Lewis suggested that we just put a line here, just to show the presence of two electrons. We'll put one line. This line is nothing but this solid line represents the presence of two electrons. Now, our next aim is to cleave this bond. So, as I said, how we are going to cleave? The first type, there are 3 different types of bond cleavages are there. The first one, let us assume, the first one is homolytic cleavage. Homolytic cleavage. Okay. Now, the first one is homolytic cleavage. The word homo itself represents that it's having the same amount equally. Okay, a single or anything with single. Now, in this case, what's happening? Let us take an example, AB. Let us take a compound, AB. Now, there is a chemical bond between particle A and particle B. Now, what happens? Let us assume that the electronegativity of A is actually equal to B. That means both the atoms are having same electronegativity. What do you mean by electronegativity? Electronegativity is nothing but the ability of an atom to pull the shared pair of electron towards itself. Now, in this case, what's happening? Since the electronegativity of the both atoms are same, these electrons will not be closer to any of the atom. It will be in the same place. Okay, I'll just remove this bond. I'll write 2 electrons. Now, since the electronegativity of these 2 atoms are same, this electron will not move either towards B or towards A. It will remain at the center. Now, if you break this bond, it exactly breaks at the center. Okay, then you will get A plus B. Now, each of this particle has got its own electron, and these are called radicals. Okay, this is the first step. This is the first type of cleavage. The second one is heterolytic cleavage. Now, what happens in this case? So, I'll write one more example, the same thing here. Okay, I'll write one example for this one, just to make you understand how things work. Okay, I'll write here only. So, let us take an example for chlorine molecule. See, we can write chlorine molecule like this. This is equal to chlorine molecule. See, this is homonuclear diatomic molecule. Both the attached atoms are same. Both are chlorine atoms only. So, they cannot have different electronegativities. So, obviously, if you break this bond, you are going to get 2 chlorine radicals. Okay, radicals. 2 chlorine radicals. Okay. Next, I'm talking about heterolytic cleavage. I'm coming back here. Imagine that we have same AB molecule AB. In this case, let us assume that the electronegativity of B is greater than A. So, in this case, what happens? I'll write it once again, A, B. Now, this bond is nothing but 2 electrons like this. Okay, electron like this. Now, since B is more electronegative, it has a tendency to pull the electron towards itself. So, what happens? These electrons are shifted more towards B. We can write that like this, A. Assume that it was supposed to be like this, but actually it is like this. That means the electron density is more towards the B atom. In this case, if you break the bond, the breakage takes place here, forming the ions. So you get A plus, because A lost its electron. Because in this molecule, A donated one electron. This bond was formed by the mutual sharing of electron. The electron 1 belongs to A, electron 2 belongs to B. But now both electrons are taken by B, so B becomes electron rich, it is negative. A becomes deficient, it becomes positive. So what is the thing we are going to understand by this? That means if a chemical bond, if a covalent bond undergoes homolytic fission, it leads to the formation of radicals. If a covalent bond is broken heterolytically, it leads to the formation of ions. Let me give you a simple example and wind up here. Let us take a HCl molecule. We know that hydrogen is less electronegative than chlorine. This chlorine is having a higher tendency to pull the electron towards itself. So if you break this bond, obviously it can break like H plus and Cl minus. It can never break like H minus and Cl plus. This is impossible. Okay, this is all about bond cleavage. I hope you understand. I am coming once again and I am trying to stop at here. So reaction is nothing but, a chemical reaction is nothing but reorganization of a chemical bond. So the elements or compounds interact together to give other substances. This is called reaction in a broader sense. But if you want to see in basic sense what is happening, there is a reorganization of chemical bonds. Some older bonds are broken up and new bonds are taking place. Now, what is a bond? Bond is an attractive force between two constituent particles. Now, this bond can be cleaved in two different ways. First one is homolytic fission and second one is heterolytic fission. If a bond undergoes homolytic cleavage, it leads to the formation of radical. If it undergoes heterolytic cleavage, it leads to the formation of the ions. Okay? This positively charged ions is called cation now, anion. You can also call electrophile and nucleophile in different sense. We'll talk about in the next class.